Hello, YouTube. This is Hiko. Follow me on Twitter, liquid_Hiko. Um, so, Cloud9 was a team that, you know, our initial roster was like what? Me, Swag, Semphis, Sean Gears, and nothing, right? And we started. It was kind of like me, Semphis, and Sean ended up leaving. We left Complexity at the time. We were looking for orgs. Yeah, even back then, we were talking to different orgs. Cloud9 wasn't like the only org we were talking to. Cloud9 signed us. Before Cloud9 signed us, Swag left. We had Anger for a little bit, and then then we picked up Shroud when we went to Cloud9. That was the roster: me, Shroud, Sean, Nothing, and Semphis. And we started the team. We were doing good. I was playing well. We had some good runs. Got to a point where a lot of our strats that we did, like, it got to a point literally where Nothing would just like not remember smokes at all. Like, I think you guys kind of saw that in the last tournament that Cloud9 played. I think they had Shazam at that time, where there's the in game where Sean kept asking for smokes, and Jordan was like, he would either not buy it or he'd not respond or he'd forget the smokes he needed to throw. I think that was a big problem we had. A lot of our strats revolved around, like, it was mostly like Sean, Shroud, and Semphis having nades, and because I would be lurking, I knew some smokes and flashes, but I wasn't really involved in a lot of the strats because, like, at that time, a lot of the meta revolved around having a hard lurker and having that guy that killed them in the back and cutting off the rotations and just distracting. So, I had a couple of smoke executes, but for the most part, it was mostly just them three, and then Nothing would kind of do whatever he wanted. There was a time where Nothing wanted to entry, and then he decided he wanted to lurk. Then he decided he wanted to be like second in, and then he, it was it was a weird dynamic that we had in the team, and it wasn't really. I could tell that it wasn't really going anywhere, and it got to a point where, like, we played. I mean, I personally played bad for a lot of those last tournaments I played with Cloud9. I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, I was insane. I was carrying Cloud9, and then I left because I was just carrying them too hard. Like, I definitely played bad towards the very end of Cloud9. I think it was a motivation thing for me. Like, a lot of our CT sides were bad. I was playing with Nothing at a lot of our CT sides, and we just didn't really work well together. He had a kind of a different idea or method to the way he played CS that didn't just work well with me. We didn't work well together when we played sites together. So, like, there were just a lot of problems internally. Like, we were all friends. We all were, like, we all got along. Like, nobody hated each other. We all hung out a lot. That was probably one of the few teams that everyone was friendly. Everyone was super close. Like, we all went out together. We all went, sightseeing together. We all did all these things together. So we were very outside of game close. And I was a teammate with Semphis and Sean for a really, really, really long time. So that wasn't the problem. So specifically, if you want me to specifically talk about the kind of the last straw, or I don't want to say it was an ultimatum, but I will say that, I mean, this is over a year ago now, right? So the water's under the bridge at this point. Like, I would hope that the Cloud9 guys know I don't hate them. It's not like I dislike them. I still, even Jordan, like, I like them personally. I can still talk to Jordan at a tournament and not have a problem. Shroud as well, Skadoodle as well. Like, there's no personal problems here. It's not like, oh, I hated them. But I will say that obviously the Jordan thing, the Nothing thing, like, the big problem was I just didn't think, like, there were a lot of times on Cloud9 where I actually did try to get him removed. I definitely didn't like the way, I didn't think he had a lot of dedication. I think he actually fixed that. after I left the team. I think he actually got a lot better at it. But while I was on the team, like I didn't feel like he really wanted it. He didn't seem all there. He didn't know what kind of role he wanted. He wasn't paying attention during practice. Like it just wasn't a good situation. And he was definitely one of the people I want to remove from Cloud9. But you know, as I said, different things happened. Actually, Sean was one of the main people that always disagreed with removing him. You know, there was a time, honestly, if I had my way after Swag left Complexity, he would have been off the team, and we actually looked to replace him, but we couldn't. And you know, Sean literally just said if we replace him, he's leaving. So we needed Sean, and yeah, that was kind of where that was at. And then like Semphis, I didn't really have a problem with. I always got along with Semphis, even to this day. Like again, I can still talk to him. At the time, he had kind of had an identity crisis though, like a role crisis in the game too, where people were ratting on him a lot because they thought he was just like a worse version of Forrest. Like he was just really aggressive, really just going out, try to get as many kills as you can. If you got no kills, you know, you'd make it a 4v5. So I didn't really have a problem with him though. I could have stayed on a team with him. I definitely would have. You know, I wouldn't have made him had to get removed. I just not at that point eventually. Actually, Sean, obviously, I thought he was the best in-game leader at the time. My only gripe with Sean at the time was that he kind of seemed in and out of the door after every season. Like there was a season where after the season was over, he said he didn't know if he wanted to keep playing or quitting, and then me and Semphis and Jordan like had to convince him to stay. So we're talking Forrest, not the aggressive. He was aggressive back in the day, like back in 2013, 2012. So yeah, Sean didn't really seem like he was in it at that time. As I said, we had to convince him to stay like 2 or 3 times. So, you know, even with that though, I still wanted to play with Sean at the time. And then we'll go to Shroud. I know I've talked about Shroud a lot, and I still think that Shroud is definitely one of the. I don't know if I can say he has the highest skill ceiling anymore, because you know he's had his chance and he unfortunately seems like he's chosen streaming over playing professionally. So maybe we as a team, as Cloud9, maybe we recruited him too early. We gave him like just the free ride, just like the instant ride to like the top team in NA, where maybe he should have had like another couple seasons to really decide whether he wanted to be like a full-time streamer or a full-time player. My biggest problem with Shroud was when I compared him from the minute he joined my team at Cloud9. So like the day we recruited him to the day I left, like my biggest gripe with him was that it seemed like he was the same player. Like it seemed like he never really cared. I don't know. I don't want to use the word care, but I don't think he dedicated himself to getting better as a professional player as much as he could. I think he put a lot of emphasis on his stream. Like at that time, we would practice until like midnight, and then he'd stream from like 1 to like 10 or 11 in the morning. So I think that was his biggest downfall, is that he puts, as I said, he just I can't blame him. Like he makes so much money off his stream. Even back then, like that's when, after he joined Cloud9, his stream went from getting like 2,000 viewers to getting like, you know, more than I was getting. So, you know, it's, I think like in an alternate world where Shroud kind of realizes this and dedicates more of his time to, you know, watching demos, death matching, trying to better himself as a professional player, then I think he definitely is by far, or would by far be the best NA player, and would be consistent and would be like the star, like the next Swag, like the people who think everyone is like the best NA player. And again, it's not me saying he's bad. It's me saying, you know, he has a high skill level. He's fine with it being that high. He doesn't really put any effort into, you know, improving that level. He's just like kind of coasting along, you know, doing good, doing average, and he's fine with it. Like that's again, I'm not saying I'm better than Shroud. I actually think Shroud has better aim than I do. I think his skill ceiling probably is higher than mine too. Like I can humble myself. I would say that. But again, like when you have the potential to be a superstar in the game, especially in a scene that has a lot of money and a scene that has a lot of and a scene that considers you could be the best, like I feel like you should take that to heart and improve yourself as a player and actually rise to your stardom and rise to being the best player. But yeah, Mini Hike, thank you for 5. How do you feel about losing to Brazilian players? I thought they played good, man. You play too high sensitivity to be as consistent as Shroud. I actually was one of the most consistent in 2013. People thought I was just like a rock player, like I was just really consistent. I think right now my problem is I'm trying to get used to a new mouse. I'm using different mouse pads a lot. I just need to pick settings, and I think just deathmatch a lot, and I'll be good. Is there anything else I really have to say? Like again, I'm sure somebody will clip this. I'm sure they'll odd set it or something. I don't have any problems with them personally, and as I said, like I would still say that Shroud I think is better than me. Like I really do. Shroud is insane. But actually I would say I think he's gotten better since the time I left to now. But I think he definitely could focus more on improving than. I mean, he doesn't even stream that much anymore, right? It's not like he streams every night, so maybe he is trying to improve. We'll see. Aim isn't everything. Take it, for instance, look at all of my stuff. That's true. Why do you hate Freakazoid? I don't hate Freakazoid. I actually don't hate anybody on Cloud9. Like, I actually think they're all like decent human beings. So I actually don't hate any of them. Reddit is mad at you. Yeah, it's fine. Reddit hates my team, so it's all good. Actually, like in another lifetime or sometime in the future, I can actually see like if I wanted to leave a team and I had to choose somebody to replace me, I probably would pick Shroud.